I first met Rich when you took my class.
Yes, I did.
Many years ago.
Yes, I did.
And I thought at the time you were a wonderful writer. I think that about a lot of people, but I don't know if they're going to finish a book. And you've done more than that. You really kept at it. So actually what I'd like you to start out with is talking a little about your Odyssey, how you got published.
Oh, how I got published?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this Fiddle Game's actually the second novel that I finished. I did a first thing called Carpenter Gothic,
Right.
which was basically full of a lot of the exotic stories I'd collected, you know, in a career in construction. And like so many first novels, it was about 200 pages too long and had 20 too many characters. And,
well,
you know,
learn.
I mean, I wouldn't buy it today.
Yep.
You know, what the heck. So anyway, you know, after I did that, I had, you know, and I tried for a while to peddle it to some agents. And meanwhile, I had been to this wonderful conference called Bloody Words
Yes.
in Toronto.
In Toronto.
Ah, okay.
And
where you won an award.
well, the second time I went there,
Okay.
1999 was the first time. Second time, yeah, I wrote a short story for their contest, for their Boney Pete contest. And it basically had to have something to do with Canada in order to be eligible. So I had this idea for, I've been thinking a long time about using a bail bondsman for a main character. You know, because I was trying to think of somebody who was comfortable with all levels of society.
Okay.
But you know, not really.
Because that was going to be my question. Why a bail bondsman?
To any of them, you know, he can talk to the you know, to the street people. He can talk to the cops. He can talk to the judges. He's comfortable with all of them. So anyway, I did this short story called Numbers Game, which was about a bail bondsman from Detroit who used his business to recruit a hitman from Toronto to kill his unfaithful wife.
Okay.
And so, and it won the Boney Pete in 2000, as you said. And after it started being more and more obvious that Carpenter Gothic wasn't going to entice anybody, I decided, you know, to do something with much more focus, you know, something much leaner, much faster. And basically I decided to take my bail bondsman and bring him uptown. So he fled Detroit, went to St. Paul, where he you know, tries hard to live down his shady past, but he keeps getting sucked back into the game. So
Which
anyway,
is one of the interesting elements of the books.
I had
Can't get rid of this tale, as it were.
I had maybe 150 pages of that done in the spring of 2004, and I took it to Pikes Peak Writers Conference and bought a critique from Michael Seidman.
Oh, oh my God.
You know, who was very, very encouraging. Basically said, finish this, bring it to me, I will take it to Thor. Okay, fine. So I had a deadline. You know, I had until the next Pikes Peak Writers Conference to finish the thing, which I did. Went to it, and here's Michael Seidman walking around with his portfolio of photographs. Because he's gotten fed up with the publishing business, doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore, and he's going to become fabulously wealthy being an art photographer. Okay.
Well, having lost his, rather summarily lost his job at the publisher's name escapes me.
Walker.
Wyatt Walker, which really unsettled him in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So anyway, later that spring, I went to Murder in the Grove in Boise.
Yeah, well, I was there.
Yeah, Carl was
I was
there.
there.
And I bought a critique of the first 30 pages of Fiddle Game from Robert Rosenwald.
Oh, there we go.
Publisher of Poison Pen.
Sure.
And he basically gave it one of the world's shortest critiques. He didn't like the first line. He wanted to take, I think it originally started out as the opening line was, "It rained on the day of the first killing."
Never start a murder mystery with the weather.
I always start a mystery
Elmore
with
Leonard said that.
Screw Elmore Leonard.
Maybe we should point out that Robert Rosenwald is the publisher at a place called Poison Pen Press, which is, I'm not going to show this to the camera, but that's your publisher, right?
And
Yeah.
of these two books, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he wanted the order of the two phrases reversed. He wanted me to say, "On the day of the first killing, it rained." And I basically said, "Yeah, you know, what
That's
do I
fine.
care?
No problem. No problem. Yeah.
You know, who would care, you know?"
Did he say he wanted to publish it then?
Well, then he did.
Oh.
You know, I think he wanted to see if I could take direction first or something.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, basically, then he said, "Okay, then, you know, would you please submit this to us?"
Formally, yeah.
So, yeah, formally. But their process, whether you've been invited or not, is they have a 3-tier reviewing process. They have 3 sets of readers who read progressively longer segments, and unless you get positive feedback from winds up being like 9 or 10 people, you know, all together. And they tell you to expect this to be 9 to 12 months process, you know. Well, as it happened, the guy who's running this program was sick. And I mean really sick, like he had terminal cancer, and nobody knew it. He was showing up at work every day, seeming to be normal, but he never got anything done. So 6 months would go by, and I'd send him an email, and as politely as I could possibly be, say, you know, "Gee, haven't we got anything back from anybody yet?" And he'd say, "Oh yeah, I got one of them back, and the others are still working on it, and we'll move it on to the next stage," and so on. So that process wound up taking 19 months.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I know you think this is unusual, but actually it's not.
Really?
Oh, sure. I mean, that's what it took, I think, for my first book to get through. Things take an enormous
Until
Yes.
an author has a contract,
Right.
which
Yeah,
works
the
both ways.
second one is much quicker.
They they can take a long time. I know authors whose books have been languishing in a very positive way, very positive emails, very positive response for 2 and 3 years. They're just partly because of real difficulties with
Are you writing a third one now in the series?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Is it all done?
No, I just finished one that is not in the series.
Oh, right, the
It's,
standalone, you said you were-
standalone historical.
Okay. What historical?
1919, and is set in the 1919 is an interesting year.
the
for a lot of
historical
ways.
sense.
Yeah,
20th
and it's
century
basically
historical.
set on the Great Plains, and it's about a serial killer who follows the itinerant wheat threshing crews.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a neat period, and of
Well,
course
it's a neat idea.
Well, and the traveling threshing crews, you know, were really kind of interesting. They were like the world's biggest circus. You know, besides just the threshing machines and steam engines that ran them and the people that ran them, you had traveling machine shops, you had traveling restaurants, you had, you know, a whole support industry. So, as with the circus, after they passed through, a few people would be missing.
Right.
You know, people would run away and join the circus, especially
Only
dumb
with a
young
threshing
kids.
circus instead of a
So
barn
if
family.
somebody was missing after the threshing crew moved through, nobody thought anything about it.
What's the name of it?
It's called Wheat Belt.
Interesting.